Hey guys, and the 4 girls who watched this show. I got something pretty cool in the mail last week. It's this. What is it? It's a Leaper's UTG quad rail system for a 1022. It turns your standard stock that comes with the gun into a nice, more tactical looking quad rail setup, which has it adds loads of utility to it and gives it a nice Picatinny top rail. All the rails are mil-spec. They're all hard anodized aluminum. It's kind of what I have on my own 1022, which is just a little bit more expensive than this. I'll just give you a quick look. This is mine here because this is my scope. You can see it's an AR chassis, but it's the same idea with the quad rail system for utility. I actually use it to mount cameras on the side of mine and flashlights for when I'm hunting. But yeah, it's a much cheaper way to get the same solution. Now, basically it mounts quite simply. It comes in the package as this is actually the package here. You see UTG number 228, and it's just called the 1022 Commando Tactical Quad Rail. It mounts fairly simple and quite sturdy. It mounts to the 4 screws on top of the action where the normal rail goes. So you're going to be replacing your rail. So either if you have one of the older dovetail top rails, the newer Weaver style dovetail rail, or the newer, again, if you add on a Picatinny rail to the top of your action, this will replace that. So if you want to go straight in for an upgrade and don't bother buying a second one, it's a good way to do it. And one good thing about it is I find that the 1022 rails are very short in overall length, so it's hard to put scopes that have longer tubes or ones that you need to shove up a bit more. Like this one is clamped really close to the middle of the scope. It can only move maybe 5mm in each direction, so it's nice to be able to move it up another 1 or 2 spaces on the Picatinny rail to get a better eye relief, which you couldn't do with the standard one because you just wouldn't be able to clamp it. Then once you have it screwed on from the top here, you got your barrel band will come off, so this will be no longer used. It'll be replaced by this. This actually has a barrel band, a much fatter barrel band built into it, and it clamps on the bottom. Now on the bottom here I have a little bipod attached to it. It has a Picatinny rail on the bottom, so if you have one of the other Leapers Picatinny rail bipods, or even an Atlas, if you want to shoot an Atlas off this thing, you could. You just attach it straight to the Picatinny rail. If you don't have one of those systems, you can go on eBay and get a Picatinny rail to QD stud adapter really cheap, like, I don't know, a couple of euro, and put that on there, and that's what I have now. And you can see it's good and solid. There's very little movement. I'm pushing quite hard on that, so it'll take a good lean. There's no problems there. So yeah, the installation is pretty straightforward. It gives you instructions, but when I put it together, following the instructions, I found a couple of problems. That basically it tells you to put it on. You get a little spacer. If you have like a 920 barrel, you don't need this spacer. If the standard factory taper, you use this spacer to basically go up in here, and it pushes against the barrel. This particular stock has been milled out, and or not milled out, but dremeled out, and is floating. So I don't really want anything touching my barrel. And if you've a floating barrel, you really want it to be the same way. So the way I floated this all the way back to the V block was, instead of on the instructions saying to put in the spacer underneath and just clamp it down so the whole thing is squeezed together, what you can do is it comes with a bunch of these rubber spacers. They're just little rubber blocks, and if you cut them in half, just like this, you can stand them each side of the barrel, so that when you clamp it, it won't clamp down on top of the barrel, but it'll clamp down on the bottom of the stock, and it'll squeeze down these pads, leaving room to float your barrel. It's kind of hard to see. My barrel, might be able to hear it, moves up and down. This is tight down now, and it's not clamping my barrel down, which is great. Now, I did take this out for some groups just to test it out, and I found that when it was clamped the way it says in the instructions, it did shift my point of impact. I wasn't surprised by that in any, just because it's a much stronger clamp than the old barrel band. So it did it did hold its group, but it did change the point of impact. So what I did was then I tried it with the floating method by putting the spacers against the stock and clamping it all together, and it did not change the point of impact whatsoever, which is really nice. And it held a nice group at 15 meters. I'll show you a picture here. I shot 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was a 5-shot group, or is it a 4-shot group? But they all touched or broke in each other's hole. It was very nice. They were all touching at least. So yeah, it's for an upgrade. It definitely doesn't lose you any accuracy. It gives you a lot of utility, which are good options. One bad things about it, I suppose, it makes your gun a little bit heavier. That's not a bad thing. If you have with most full length rail systems, like on just about any other chassis you can get, if you have low mounts and a big objective lens, you might not be able to fit your original scope. And in fact, this one was the original scope, which you can see in the picture of the before and after. This, because it has the parallax adjustment on the optical house, it won't sit anymore with these rings, so I'd have to get bigger rings. So I just took mine on there. It's a 44, and it's perfect on medium rings. These are Burris XTR rings, and it's absolutely perfect. It's sitting maybe 2 mils above the handguard, so it's perfect. It's as low as it's going to get on a 44 with medium burst mounts. Any other bad points? Well, I'd like to have seen that you could take out. You can see here there's a little gap for your aperture sight or your V sight. You're not going to be able to use that with that on there, even though they do kind of mill it out a little bit, but it's useless. It'd be nicer if they left it as one full rail and didn't put that there, and you could just knock it out with a punch. But it's there. It doesn't really affect anything. Also, if you build it the way it says in the instructions and just clamp it down so it squeezes the barrel, I found that it pulls down the front Picatinny rail. I don't know, 5/8 of a degree. Not a full 60 MOA, but maybe 45 or something like that. No, it's not even. Yeah, maybe 45 MOA. It drops down. It just pulls this down because when it's clamping against it, it'll first hit the bottom and it'll suck down the top. And if there's no spacers like the way I have it done here, it'll keep squeezing down until it hits the barrel and squeezes tight on the barrel, or it squeezes tight on the stock and the barrel. But if you put the spacers on the sides of the stock, it'll only squeeze on the stock. It won't touch your barrel, and it stays nice and flat the whole way through. So I think that's something they could have looked at more in the R&D. But in saying that, it's not a deal breaker. If you find that your barrel works better with a barrel clamp, it's not a big deal. A lot of barrels, every barrel is different. One of my friends' 1022s, it shoots so much better with the barrel band on, and he just doesn't like it free floated. So everyone's different, but in that case, or in this case, it's better floated. I can't really think of any other bad things. It is very sturdy. With it, you get a couple of these guys here. You can see I've placed them here. They're just UTG little Picatinny covers, but because they're mil-spec Picatinny, you can use anything. You can use those. You can use ladders, like I have on my own one here. You can see the Picatinny ladders to make it nice and smooth, and you can not be grinding down your fingers. But those guys work just as well. So you have little covers. The plus sides of this system is it gives you a ton of utility, and it does give you a little bit more rigidity in the gun itself, just because it gives you a bit more of a frame when it's clamped down properly. So you would get practically no twist, where you can get a little bit of twist otherwise in the normal plastic polymer stock. You don't really get it in the wooden one too much. But then again, if you're looking for super accuracy, the wooden stocks on these, if they get wet, they swell and they move, and not great. But yeah, it gives it a nice bit of rigidity. But what it does give a ton of is adaptability and ability to mount accessories on it. In this case, I have a little, this is my little hunting light, and I mount it underneath because when I do mount it above on this rail here on my own scope, it shines the back of the silencer back into the scope, giving me a little white spot just off center, which is very annoying. So I do mount it on the side of my rail and push it out in front, and it doesn't give me any negative effects, which is very nice. You can mount everything from flashlights to GoPros. There's Picatinny mounts for just about everything. So anything you want to mount to your 1022, you can do it. Yeah, so that's my quick overview of this little guy here. You can see by the group, which I'll show you again, it's not affecting my accuracy. If anything, it even made it a bit better because it's allowing it to float properly, and it won't let anything else touch your barrel. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, it's solid. I think it looks good, but I like tactical looking things. I like Picatinny rails. I like quad rail systems. Yeah, I can't fault it except for the way that it says to attach it. There's better ways of doing it, but that's not the end of the world. I'd like to thank Duffy's Shooting and Fishing for sending me up this rail to review. Duffy's Shooting and Fishing in Galway, which is under shoot.ie. They also stock a load more firearms, accessories, ammunition, just about everything you need. You can give them a call, or you can order on their website on shoot.ie. And yeah, it's a pretty cool accessory. I'm very impressed with it, and it's a nice addition to anyone who likes the look of it and wants to add a little bit more functionality to your 1022. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see here, please subscribe and comment, like anything you want. Join us on Facebook, on Twitter. I think I have an entire one follower. It's probably my wife. Yeah, give us a like, and I'll be back again with some more firearms related banter and how-tos and bits and pieces. I think my next video might be I'm changing the firing pin in my 1022 because it's worn out after a ridiculous amount of use. Okay, thanks. See you next time.